Injury. So you're going to be facing a depleted, bad Royals team. I mean, there's still room for this to change, especially because Cleveland faces Minnesota 8 times before the.
That's fun though. I'm glad that they
the
have 8 more games in the calendar.
Yes,
it worked
and
out pretty nicely.
That stretch is almost certainly going to decide the division because Chicago only faces Cleveland 3 more times, all of them in Chicago about a week and a half before the end of the season. But yeah, I think Cleveland can hold on, but I think one, obviously they need Jose Ramirez to be Jose Ramirez. 2, they need Chicago and Minnesota to keep being injured. And 3, they need to make the most of the hay they do have in their schedule, which is to say those 9 games against Kansas City, as well as 3 games against Texas and 3 games against Los Angeles. Realistically, they need to go like 9-3 in those 12 games because the rest of their schedule otherwise is contenders, including immediate contenders, who are going to be right in their path in terms of determining the AL Central.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see what happens, John. We'll see what happens in the AL Central, but cool nonetheless. What's also cool, did you hear about this? See this? Arte Moreno getting ready to sell the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, John. Couple decades in the books. Got his ring decades ago. Shout out to our guy, David Eckstein. Who, the memories will be there forever. John.
Shout out Troy Gloss. Shout out Russ. No, Russ Ortiz on the Giants. Sorry. Shout out John Lackey.
John Lackey. Tim Salmon.
Yeah, let's remember some Angels. Shout out. I've already forgotten my Angels.
I was gonna say Vernon Wells for a while.
He wasn't on that Angels.
He was on that team. I thought we were just going like just memorable Angels.
Oh no, I was just trying to think about that 2002 team.
Oh, on that 2002 team. Now that's a good question.
Shout out Jared Washburn.
Shout out
Scott Shields.
That is a name I've not heard in a long time.
There's a pull for you.
There you go, John.
Shout out Benji Molina.
Ooh, that man. There you go. I like it, John. But this is kind of cool. This came out of nowhere. Arte Moreno selling the Angels. It took ruining the careers or the trajectory of 2 generational talents before he was like, maybe I'm not the right owner to make sure that baseball just does not have a decade of just missing their iconic, just uber talented players not playing meaningful baseball ever. That was a classic whoopsies. Maybe somebody else can steer this ship a little better than me. A great time. A little late, Arte Moreno. A little late. You just. Late.
I mean, if you're an Angels fan, you wish he had done this like 10 years ago.
Yes. But better late than never, I guess.
I mean, well, the truth is, the problem is it is too late in the sense that, like you said, they've wasted the career of Mike Trout, who very clearly has now exited his prime, in part because he cannot stay healthy the same way he used to.
Yep.
And which is both very depressing and very kind of strange to think about, that we are now in the back 9 of Mike Trout's career, potentially. He wasted the prime of the greatest player most of us will ever see in our lifetimes. He has wasted likely the only years that the second coming of Babe Ruth will choose to give this absolute poverty franchise. He wasted countless other good seasons in there included. The funny thing about Moreno is you can't say he didn't try, because if nothing else, he was willing to approve the extension for Trout. He was willing to approve the expenditure for a guy like Anthony Rendon. They very clearly were in on Garrett Cole before he chose the Yankees. This is a team that has not necessarily, I mean, obviously the Albert Pujols signing and the gigantic contract that he got when he hit the free agent market. And in retrospect, obviously that didn't play out, but at the same time, when Albert Pujols becomes available as a free agent, it is probably a good idea to try to sign Albert Pujols, at least at that point in his career. There wasn't exactly any reason to point to that and be like, that's a bad idea, beyond the fact that it was, a very long, very expensive contract that very clearly didn't pay out. Part of me wonders how much of Moreno is just he no longer has the stomach for this kind of stuff. You can almost hear him being like, I gave Albert Pujols, I gave money to my crowd, I gave money to Anthony Rendon, I still can't win a damn thing. Hell with this, I give up. Again, Angels fans wish he'd given up sooner, but so much of that is just the reality that Moreno has been one of the more meddlesome owners in baseball ever since he bought the Angels. to a Steinbrenner level degree. You can't get away with that unless you also either have the results Steinbrenner does or the front office he does, which Moreno never did, in part because of his just nonstop meddling, and also just the fact that meddling included stuff like not wanting to pay for things like complimentary pieces. We always how many off seasons in a row have we looked at the Angels and gone, there are stars here, but then there are some really big holes that this team just decided it didn't want to do anything about. And I think a lot of that blame can rightfully go to Moreno for being one of those owners who's like, yeah, I love the big splashy signings. I love Rendon. I love Pujols. I love, the Trout. I love getting Ohtani, but it's like, but not doing the work to do better with regards to like a better farm system, better player development, better.
It's a more frustrating version of the Rockies, right? Where the Rockies are like, we signed Chris Bryant. What more do you want us to do? And it's like everything else.
There's so much more you need to do. Like, and I think that's a good comparison, that the Monforts with the Rockies are not dissimilar to the Moreno with the Angels, where it's owners who are willing to spend money, but only in a very narrow band for guys that they think are stars. Not necessarily the ones that their front office is like, hey, what about this guy? But the guys are like, I like that guy. Get me that guy. And it's like, well, getting you that guy is how we ended up paying $240 million to Albert Pujols, and then a contract so bad we had to cut him with like $80 million left. That's how we ended up giving $200+ million to Anthony Rendon, whose entire like left or right side of his body, I can't remember which, is basically surgically rebuilt at this point. Like, you cannot succeed as an owner without, I think, being willing to listen to the people who are actually in charge and who know something about baseball. And I think Moreno in particular was someone who fancied himself to be a real baseball expert, when in reality it's like, no, man, you're just the money. You're the bank. You're the casino. Like, you're the checks. You are not some brilliant baseball guy just because you happen to be rich enough to buy the Angels, And I think what's really frustrating to me about Arte Moreno ultimately is that his reward for not just wasting Mike Trout's prime, but also ensuring that whoever buys the Angels will get the back half of Mike Trout's career, and probably will not get Shohei Ohtani either, because I have to imagine by this point, Ohtani is simply tired of the way this franchise operates and wants to go somewhere that will win.
I think he's gone. I think Ohtani's gone
too. And especially because whoever now buys this team is going to face, ostensibly at least, the same theoretical.
Well, that's the biggest part of this, right? Is like, does this mean we've seen this with the Nationals now?
I think this means Ohtani is gone.
Because I think it means 100% he's gone, but does that mean Trout opens up? Like, is that something where you just want to clear the books?
The problem at this point is, given the way Mike Trout has played the last few years, and given the way these injuries have kind of sapped who he is, what contender, because there's no point in anything other than a contender trading for Mike Trout, what contender wants to take on the money and the years left to him?
Oh, the Mets.
That would be very funny for.
He's from New Jersey, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's a Philly guy.
He's in New Jersey. Like, he gets to they'll be able to get.
Look, there's New York, New Jersey, and there's Philly, New Jersey. Mike Trout is very squarely Philly, New Jersey.
Well, I guess what I'm saying more broadly, is just that like his family can come. Like, his family will not be.
No, look, I think it does definitely open up the possibility that the Trout, may be at the end of his Angels tenure, because that's another thing. Whoever takes over this team is not going to be interested in paying what's left to Mike Trout, is not going to be interested in giving Shohei Ohtani the $500 million contract he's going to be looking for and that he deserves.
Mariners do it.
Is probably going to be in a similar scenario to where the Nationals are now, where it's going to be like, no, tear it down. We start over and we just build cheap for a bit. Because whoever takes over, whoever buys this team, as is the case with pretty much every professional sports owner now, is going to be leveraged to the eyeballs in debt. In a sale that is not going to have a lot of cash in it, that is probably going to have a multi-person ownership group. There's not going to be one guy, more likely than not. So, and I think the thing that I hate the most is that Arte Moreno, after 20 years of mismanaging this franchise, every possible direction, is going to walk away with $1 billion.
I wonder if Ballmer buys him.
I'm curious. I'm curious now who. And because this is the thing too, like who have the new owners we've seen recently? Who have they been? You've got guys like Steve Cohen. You've got the family that owns Walmart buying the Denver Broncos. You've got Guggenheim owning the Dodgers. You've got and granted, this isn't going to happen, I don't think necessarily in the United States, but we shall see. You've got all the various foreign interests buying teams in professional leagues in Europe. The way that the petrostates of the Arabian Peninsula and of the Gulf have made their entry into not just the Premier League, but other professional soccer leagues across Europe. It looks like that is more the direction that this will go. I don't know that there are future Arte Morenos necessarily out there unless they're at the wealth level of someone like a Steve Cohen. And then at that point, you are talking guys like Bezos or Ballmer, or it would
I think
never
Bezos
happen.
is getting the Nationals. I think that
No,
ends with.
I don't think he has any interest in sports, though. When has he shown any interest in sports?
I think it's
That
just
dude loves
it's not sports,
space.
but remember how we've talked about this in this pod now for years. It's just that like a lot of these owners look at it as portfolios.
It
So
is, but I think that a guy like Bezos has no need to add to his sports team to his portfolio. He already had. I mean, he already has Amazon and the Washington Post and a billion other things that make him more money than God. He is not someone who needs to own a sports. He is someone I could see buying a sports team, but only in the Mark Cuban sense of because I really, really want one. And Bezos does not strike me, at least based on what we've
maybe his
seen of
wife
him
buys it.
publicly. That would be very funny on its own. I mean,
Ex-wife,
the
excuse me.
Angels are the ultimate
Yeah.
charity case, so I could definitely see Mackenzie Bezos doing that.
Yeah.
But I don't think Bezos is. We've never seen any indication that he's a sports guy, much less a baseball guy. And that's kind of the thing. Like, unless you're a
That
Steve
might be
Cohen,
what you want is just the money guy who has no baseball knowledge and is like, I don't know what. Yeah, I'll just hire the right guy. That like they just someone pulls him aside and he's just like, give me the list of the best GMs and the best guy. Okay, how much does Theo want? All right, we'll
yeah,
just
fine.
yeah.
But like that's why unless it's a Steve Cohen who happens to be both a billionaire and a diehard Mets fan, unless there's some Southern California billionaire who has lived and died with the Angels their entire life, I think this is more likely to be something where this ends up being a consortium that takes control of the team and does, like you said, use it as a portfolio. Mostly because I'd be curious, and I don't know. I've never been to Angel Stadium. I don't know what the layout there is like. I don't know what the opportunities or availability is to do something like a Wrigleyville type setup or to try to turn it into like a Braves type setup with Truist Park. And, I don't know what the state of the Big A or whatever that stadium is now called really is, but I can easily see it being some group where it's like, we want to take over the Angels and turn it into a quote unquote capital E experience, where we're going to make it a destination. We're going to have a new stadium. It's going to be luxury boxes and it's going to be cool and fun and blah, blah, blah.
People
And
have
that means we're
wondered,
not
thrown
going to
out,
spend
like, oh, could
money
they
on the
move? It's
team
like they're
for a
not
bit.
leaving the LA market.
No, they're not going
that's
to leave
not
the LA
happening.
market. Where would they go? Like, baseball already has this existing problem of there are already plenty of places that want a baseball team, but none of the Major League Baseball teams all that enamored of. The biggest option would be Vegas, which the A's are going to court as hard and as heavy as they can. The Major League Baseball already needs to figure out what it wants to do with the Rays because the Rays have made it clear that they do not want to stay in St. Petersburg, or where. I mean, I guess they're in
just
St.
move that freaking team to
But, like,
Montreal. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, like I don't really see where the Angels would end up, but I think you're right that there's no real way that that's going to happen. LA is the destination that other teams and other owners use to get what they want from their home city.
You don't
not the other way
flee
around.
LA.
Yeah, you don't flee LA, especially because the city of Los Angeles is going to go, okay, you want to, or Anaheim, I guess, Orange County, go, you want to leave? Okay, fine, whatever, literally leave. We do not care. Like, we didn't even remember you were here. The Dodgers
and also
are already
we
there
can
too,
get somebody else. That's the thing is like they're not worried about that. It's like, oh, if you leave, guess what? We'll always like other owners want to move here. Like that's the whole thing. Is like if you leave, we'll just bring in somebody else later on.
Whoever buys the Angels, I think there will have to be that commitment to being like, we're going to stay in Anaheim and we're going to make this an experience. We're going to make this better. And I think the only real way that happens, again, barring some multi-billionaire who just has had love in his heart for the Angels forever, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe Joseph Gordon-Levitt is like, I loved making Angels in the outfield so much that I'm going to buy this team and run it. And that would be really
Goodness
weird.
gracious. We saw Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. Didn't they buy a team together?
They did. They bought a team called Wrexham, which I believe is in England's 4th or 5th division of professional soccer. I mean, that's the thing. You can do that if you buy a team. It'd be the equivalent of buying like a Frontier League team.
Yeah.
Or an Atlantic League team, where it's like, you're not going to make any money off that. You're just doing it because you really want to own a team and you really like the sport, but you don't have nearly enough money for a major professional enterprise. So no, I see the Angels being something more like the Broncos, where it's just a wealthy consortium or family that just has fuck you money is like, well, we'll buy it and we'll use it to diversify our portfolio and we'll use it to invest in real estate. Because again, Arte Moreno is going to walk away from this with $1 billion, no matter what, like there is no better financial come up over a long stretch of time than owning a sports team. You cannot lose money, especially because whoever takes over the Angels almost certainly is going to say, tear it down. Get rid of the big contracts. Get rid of the big money. We need to start fresh.
Breaking news, John.
Yes.
Phillies prospect Bryce Harper goes deep to cut the Stripers lead 3-1. Admittedly, he looks like one to watch in the future from the Gwinnett Stripers team Twitter account. It's a great tweet.
Cool.
He's healthy. He's coming back. A name to watch out for. Bryce Harper. That is Harper with an H.
Harper with an H.